Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Wednesday, the 8th, April 8th. Hope you're all staying safe and enjoying your time at home. This is the final lecture, final talk about the auxiliary chapter. So this is the last video that should be going up this evening. And again, our exam is going to be on Tuesday, the week coming up. What is that? So this is the 8th, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That'd make it the 14th. Next Tuesday, whatever that is, 14th. Next Tuesday is when our exam will be. Same format. This will be open notes, open book, obviously, but the videos will be shut down. And then we'll get going on the drum set and marching percussion for the final. Final again will be cumulative. The whole semester, all will be rolled into one. So it'll be a long test. Again, open book, open note, all that stuff because you're at home. And but the videos again will be offline for those. So take a look at everything as it's coming up, and again, take a look in your book. Some things will reference, some things will be a little different, but it'll be a good reference point to take a peek at. And there was something else that I wanted to say, and it escaped me, so we will hit that at some point. Oh, 3 questions. Again, we'll be asking 3 questions at the end of today's lecture. Make sure to answer these up online, and we should be good to go. All right, so we're going to start with the tam-tam. So the tam-tam, first of all, this is a tam-tam and not a gong. All right, the difference between a tam-tam and a gong, and this is something that, of all the things to learn in this class, this is definitely up there. A tam-tam, which this is a non-pitched instrument, and a gong, which this is not, is a pitched instrument. Okay, so this is a tam-tam versus a gong. So a gong, and we actually don't have any gongs in this building, a gong usually has a raised center to it, and when you hit the instrument, you hear a very clear, distinct pitch. If you've played the gamelan over at the Music Museum, of course now they're shut down, but if you play the gamelan, they have gongs in that ensemble. Those instruments are pitched. This is a tam-tam, and it is not pitched. Some gongs don't have a raised center, but they're still pitched. This one does not have a pitch. So I'm going to play a note, and I want you to hear how the fact that you really can't hear a discernible pitch from it. So hopefully this will transfer. I don't know how this is going to come off in the mic. So. There are a ton of different pitches in there that you could probably sing along with, but this is definitely a non-pitched instrument. Versus a gong, I would hit it and it would go bong, or whatever pitch it was. People when you buy a gong, you say, I want a gong in F sharp. You buy a gong for a particular pitch. This is a tam-tam, right? So, now, that being said, when a composer calls for a gong, they most likely mean tam-tam. So if a composer writes a band piece or an orchestra piece and they say gong, and they don't say, I want a gong in C, then they actually want a tam-tam. So gong, when they write gong, they really want a tam-tam, unless they ask for, I want gong playing these scales, all right? And there's very few pieces where they call for a gong with a particular pitch, all right? I can't think of a band piece off the top of my head that calls for that. I'm sure there are some. There are plenty of percussion ensemble pieces that call for tuned gongs. There are a lot of other pieces, chamber pieces, that call for tuned gongs. There are orchestra pieces that call for tuned gongs. But most of the time, when they say gong, they really mean tam-tam, right? So when Holst writes gong, he means this. When Tchaikovsky writes gong, he means this. They don't want pitched instruments. If they write a gong and there's a non-pitched, or it doesn't really matter what the pitch is, then they really want this. If they say, I want a gong, and they have a melody and it has a treble clef or bass clef, whatever it is, then you want those particular pitches. You want to make sure that you get the difference. This is a tam-tam and not a gong. Tam-tam, 2 words, T-A-M, T-A-M, okay? If you're going to buy a tam-tam, the traditional tam-tam that we bought for our bands in the United States was this exact instrument. This is the Paiste tam-tam, okay? Paiste is the company, it's a cymbal company, P-A-I-S-T-E, and they made, this is kind of the prototypical tam-tam, okay, that we would buy for our band. Today, there are a lot more tam-tam options. I would say, so historically, say 20 years ago, 10 years ago, the Zildjian tam-tam, the Zildjian tam-tam was a joke, and it was awful, and you did not want to buy it, okay? It was a terrible joke of an instrument, all right? This is the instrument that you still wanted to buy. Today, though, I believe Zildjian is making good tam-tams, and I believe a lot of the companies are making good tam-tams. So you could check them out, the Zildjian tam-tam or the Sabian tam-tam, but this is the one that we went to. Now, the reason, because of this was our go-to instrument, this is one of the most expensive ones, right? This probably cost a third more than the Zildjian or the tam-tam, but this is the sound that most of us are expecting in our band, right? This exact instrument. Now, this one's kind of beat to snot. I don't know if you can see from the side. It's got a big, this whole spot down here is dented in. It's just an old instrument. It's been here since I've gotten here. And it's still fine. It's just kind of getting beat, especially when they move stuff back and forth from here to Alf's. All right, so you have your instrument. Then the next question is the stand. The stand is a big to-do. So you can buy tam-tam stands, and there's some great, amazing, very expensive tam-tam stands, or you can build them, all right? So this one was built before I got here, and all it is just this big steel piping that are put together. I'm not sure if they're glued or if it's just there, and then you've got legs. Now, this is great, but moving it is a pain in the neck because there's no wheels, all right? So we can't move it with the wheels. We have another tam-tam stand in one of our practice rooms. Same idea, but it's made out of wood, okay? I have one that I made using smaller tubing than this, piping than this. Same idea, but the cool thing about that one is I can take it apart and put it in my car and transport it here and there. This one is not really, you can't really take it apart. And you can see how it's loose. Need to tighten that up somehow. I don't know. There, and oh, look at that. See? 1 minute fixes right there. So this makes it a little bit tough to move. You can buy, the instruments come with stands sometimes. Some of them are awful. The historical one that was a circle with these legs that came out the side is really difficult, right? One of the problems with this instrument is the where it is relationship to your stand and to your director. So if we're standing here parallel, if my band director is that way, okay, which this is typically how people have it set up, right? The directional instrument, kicking it out, maybe. All right, so I'm going to have my instrument here, but obviously where is my music and where is my band director? My band director's there. Is my music so I can see them, or is my music over here? So I have a sightline issue, kind of like we had with the chimes, like we had with the keyboard instruments. We can put it to the side. If I have my instrument here, and I have my music, and I have the band director there, which is great, but this takes up a lot of space. And so finding a good place to put this and having a good eyesight to the director is always a tough thing to keep in mind when you're setting this up. So you want to make sure they're dealing with this, particularly if this is even lower, and you've got to get even lower down here. Again, your player could be looking into the ground. Right? Playing the instrument, typically when I play the tam-tam, I want to hit it just like you hit with the bass drum. All right? So the center of the instrument, I don't really want to necessarily hit. I want to hit just south of the center. Okay? So it's the same concept with the bass drum, is that this is going to be low, but it's going to be a little more staccato-y. If I play a little bit south, it's going to open it up a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to play that. So this is a little bit south of the center of the drum, of the tam-tam. And this mallet is getting a little bit hard. Let me use this other one here. Okay, I should talk about beaters here for a second. There's a lot of good tam-tam beaters. This is one that we came up with. This is a ProMark, which is fine. This is a homemade one, and I have one just like this that's also homemade. I love this. All it is a dowel rod. There's a hockey puck in here. I've drilled out the center of a hockey puck. You slide it in, and then you wrap it like you're wrapping your normal marimba mouths, which you don't know how to do, but this is something that sometimes we learn how to do. Obviously, this is coming apart, so it's getting a little too hard, okay? So you wrap it, and then you sew it off, and then you have yourself a nice tam-tam meter. What's cool about it is that it's really heavy. With that hockey puck, it's nice and heavy. This other one is similar. I don't know what's inside of here, maybe 2 hockey pucks. Again, nice and heavy. People experiment with different things, but you want something that's really, really heavy, okay? Now, this is a bass drum beater, all right? So this is what we use for the bass drum, and it sounds good on the bass drum, but listen to how it sounds on a tam-tam. You hear that really sharp attack? I'll do it again. Versus okay, that's the sound we want minus the string causing some notes down there. I got to figure that out. So playing a little south to center, playing down here using a nice heavy beater. One of the things that people do with tam-tams is they warm them up. This is a good thing to do, but you don't want to get carried away with it, okay? What does warming up do? Warming up is basically getting the instrument moving before I hit it, all right? So the instrument's vibrating before I hit it. Why do we want to do this? If the instrument's moving already, it's going from moving to just moving more, so it's less of a shock on the system of the tam-tam, and it probably will give me a better tone. Okay, going from 0 to on sometimes is a it's too much of a staccato-y type of note. Sometimes I want it to open up flower a little bit more evenly, so having it being moving already and then hitting it seems to flower a little bit better. Now, all we need to do is have the instrument moving. We don't have to have it moving much. So if I warm up the tam-tam, all I have to do is that. It's already warm. Okay, it's moving, and hopefully you can't hear it. Okay, what you don't want to do is this. All right, I don't need to do this. I'm warming it up a lot. I'm warming up so much that it's actually now a sound. All right, you don't need to warm up the tam-tam that much. All right, so I'm going to hit the instrument not warmed up. We'll hear what it sounds like. Now I'm going to hit it warmed up. All right, so I'm going to warm it up a little bit. And here I go. Now, was it much different? I'm not sure. Did I hit a little harder? Perhaps. Did I hit softer? I don't know. But that's something that sometimes people do warm it up to kind of help the sound happen. And different tam-tams, you have to warm up differently. This is a nice thin gong, thin tam-tam, so we don't really have to go to town to warm it up. Some of them are really thick, 2 or 3 times as thick as this one. We have some other tam-tams in the department that are really, really thick. And so if you don't warm up, they don't speak quite as well without warming it up. Tam-tam versus gong. Okay, make sure you know the difference between the tam-tam and a gong. Nice heavy beaters. We're good to go. All right, moving on. Put this away. Hopefully you can see and hear all these things we'll talk about today. Suspended cymbal. Suspended cymbal is a pretty obvious instrument. I have two on display here. They're both fine. One is not necessarily better than the other. All right, so this is what you probably have in your band. This is a regular stand with a cymbal on it, okay? This is what we call a gooseneck stand. Turn to the side so you can see a little bit. And the idea is it comes from the stand, goes around, and it hangs the cymbal like it's a crash cymbal. Supposedly, and usually, these sound a little bit better than these. They ring a little bit longer than these do, right? You've got this sitting on the felt, so it's going to muffle that cymbal a little bit more. This is only sitting on the knot, that small knot that's there, and so there's less touching the cymbal, so it's going to ring more. It does sound better, but it's not super necessary. The problem with the goosenecks is that you deal with this really awkward shape. So if you have to move, if you have to do things, moving this instrument or putting this away sometimes is difficult. And also you have to make sure you have straps for all your cymbals. If your cymbals don't have straps, then they're all fine and good on this. But if you have to have straps to make this work. All right? I did happen to have two very different cymbals, so you can't really compare the sound of this cymbal to the sound of this. I'll play a little bit, but these are very, very, very different instruments, and so you really can't compare. What should you get? Most suspended cymbals range from 16 inches to 18 inches. Those are the standard ranges of the cymbals. Okay. We have two. Well, we have a lot, but we have in this line, just like these, we have two. We have an 18 and we have a 16. It's good to have two options, all right? You can have more, that's great. The more the merrier is great, okay? But a 16-inch and an 18-inch are pretty good for covering what you want. An 18-inch is nice and big. It's going to be for your big band notes. Excuse me. Thank you. It's just the dust, I promise you. You're not going to get sick from watching this, I promise you. All right. The 18-inch is going to give us a nice big sound. The 16-inch is going to give us a quicker sound, but smaller. All right. You're going to find yourself having a hard time playing loud enough with the 16-inch, but at the same time, sometimes this is too much. All right. So it's good to have a little bit of both. So anywhere between a 16 and an 18-inch, and again, the same brand we talked about with crash cymbals, either Zildjian or Sabian. Those two companies are the two best. Yes, there are a lot of others, but these are the two that are really kind of educationally focused. Zildjian or Sabian. They're either good. This is a Sabian. This happens to be a Sabian. We have some Zildjians in there. I've got Zildjians, you know, so they're all good and they're all very, very similar. When you play suspended cymbal, you want to make sure, so the sticks aren't a huge deal. You can buy dedicated suspended cymbal sticks. Let me actually grab them. I think we have them over here. These are suspended cymbal mallets from Malletech. You'll notice that they have a little bit of rubber here, whatever. And then the heads are thinner, not quite as round, and they're still padded, you know, they're yarn, covered with yarn. These are good, but these are fine, all right? So you don't have to go nuts. What you don't want is you don't want big, fluffy marimba mallets, all right? You want something with cord or something that has a nice, tight wrap. If it's a big, fluffy stick, I don't have any big, fluffy sticks here, you don't want it, all right? It's not going to sound good. You're not going to get nice, good attacks. So you want to make sure that you've got a nice, tight wound. Whether it's birch or whether it's rattan, doesn't really matter, but you want to make sure it's a nice, tight wrap. When you play the instrument, you want to hit it. Normally we roll. I mean, yeah, we do have single notes, but oftentimes the most thing we do on this is nice suspended cymbal rolls. You want to roll at either 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. If you think about the cymbal being a clock, that's 12, that's 6, 3, and 9 are right and left. You want to roll at either 3 and 9 or kind of 4 and 8. All right, so you want to roll on either side of the cymbal. The reason we do this is if I roll here, all right, the cymbal is going to do this, all right, and I'm just going to choke the cymbal because it's going to be so tweaked off of its normal axis. If I roll here, the instrument's going to go back and forth, and it's going to stay more or less focused. Remember we talked about timpani, the big four. We talked about the where with the big four. So where our hands are in relationship to each other will dictate the kind of articulation. So if I want a nice legato strokes, I want to be rolling out here nice and far away from each other so I don't cancel out each other's note. So again, 3 and 9 or 4 and 8. The roll we do on this is a single stroke roll, no double stroke roll. And we want to make sure to stay away from the middle of the instrument. We want to be out towards the edge of the instrument. All right, we don't have to be right on the far edge, but we want to make sure we're not near the bell. All right, if you're near the bell, you hear this. Versus, hopefully you can hear the difference. So that's this cymbal. I'll play this one now. Very different sound. This happens to be a hand-hammered suspended, and this is an artisan suspended. This one's 17-inch versus 18-inch. All these, they're very different constructions. The sound is kind of not related. So we have a couple of these, we got a couple of these, right, to give us the different sounds. And you want to, again, have many options as much as you can. Typically, you're going to hit it with a soft stick. If I have to do single notes, all right, I want to hit probably right in front of me. You don't have to hit up to the side if you're doing a single note. And then if you need to muffle it, bring your hand in to muffle it. Sometimes we need to hit it with a stick. And I don't have a good snare drum stick. I'll use this. If we have to hit it for like a quick accent note, it's oftentimes good to hold the stick backwards. Just hit it with the shaft of the stick again on the edge of the cymbal. You don't want to hit it with the tip. You want to hit on the edge. All right. You're hitting with the shoulder of the stick to get a nice crash out of it. Sometimes you have to have articulated notes. All right. And so when you do that, you want to play on the top of the stick, and with the top of the cymbal with the tip of the stick. Okay. The best sticks for that are drum set sticks typically because they're designed to sound good on cymbals. Snare drum sticks, your SD1 Generals, don't sound good when you play on the cymbal. You want to have some nice bullet shaped sticks, and we'll talk about those sticks next chapter when we get into the drum set. Okay. And I think that's all you need to know about suspended cymbal. Rolling on 3 and 9 o'clock. Or 4 and 8 o'clock, soft sticks with a nice tight wrap, and again using Sabian or Zildjian cymbals would be good. Okay, moving on. All right, let's talk about wood block. This is a wood block, all right. It's fairly simple. It's a block of wood with a hole routed in it. Right? It's not rocket science. A lot of good woodblock companies. This happens to be a Grover. They make good wood blocks. Fall Creek makes good wood blocks. Von Craft makes good wood blocks. Black Swamp makes good wood blocks. There are a lot of good wood block makers out there, but the Ludwig wood block you do not want to get. Right? So you make sure that you're not getting the Ludwig wood block. It's a very thin wood block. It's designed to be played on a drum set in 1920. All right? And we're not in 1920, and you're not playing on a drum set. So you want to make sure that you get an instrument that's made for playing today. All right? So what's the difference? This is a lot more sturdy, and it's nice and big, and it's going to give us the tone we want. Typically, when you play wood blocks, you should use a rubber mallet. You want to avoid using a snare drum stick. Okay? Sometimes you have to use it, especially with a multiple percussion solo, or if it says specifically snare drum stick, but you have to be careful because you will dent the instrument when you use a stick. All right? And the sound is a little thinner, all right, than if I use a rubber mallet. Much bigger sound, okay? So rubber mallet is usually what you want to use on a wood block. It's going to sound much better. Each wood block has its own sweet spot. It has a place that it wants to be hit. Okay, so you have to kind of find that, and every wood block is different depending on how it's made. Okay, this one, right in the middle, and most of them it's the same way, right in the middle towards the lip. Okay, so here's that opening with the routed hole. I'm going to play right in the middle, and it sounds good. Now if I play on the back side, so this is the opening to play on the back side, hear how it's not as full of a sound. If I play off to the side, hear how it's not quite as full. All right, so you can mark the beating spot if you want to. If it's hard to find, like I have one wood block where it's pretty particular, and the beating spot is actually not in the center. It's a little bit off to the side. I actually have a pencil and I just put an X on the wood block, and you can mark it, and you make sure that you hit it there. Okay. If you're playing something slow, you might as well hold the instrument in one hand and hit it with the other hand. All right. Now, if I have to play fast, you want to put it on a table. And if you're going to put it on a table, you either want the opening going away from you or back to you, and it depends on the instrument, and it depends on the hall. All right. So I'm going to play a little bit of both, and this is going to be the bonus question. So question number 4, the bonus question. I want you to tell me what sounds better to you, because I have no idea what's going to transfer to the mic of the camera. So here, I'm going to move this so it doesn't ring. Here is the opening towards me. Now the opening towards you. So A or B. So let me know. I actually am curious as to how it's going to transfer well into there. So this is a stand that we just put on. This is a great stand, by the way. This is, what's it called? The Hercules stand. Really cool. It's designed specifically for auxiliary percussion. So it's a great stand. Super, super solid. It's got egg crepe foam here to keep everything safe, and it doesn't make a sound, right? When I drop things on it, there's no sound. It's a great, great stand. So that's the wood block. Related to the wood block are the temple blocks. These are temple blocks, T-E-M-P-L-E, not T-E-M-P-O, not tempo blocks, but temple blocks. These originated in the Buddhist temples. Okay, the original temple blocks were round. Sometimes they called them dragon's mouths. They look like fish. They were round, and they would have one, and they would just clunk it. And that's all there was. Now these are similar to wood blocks, but they're constructed differently because you have a box, right? Each one of these is a box, and it's completely hollow. The whole thing's hollow. These are various pieces that are put together to create the box, and then there's a groove in the box from the side all the way around. Okay, and these have a clearer pitch than the wood block does, right? So when you have these, usually they come in a set of 5, and typically it's a pentatonic scale. Now these are out of tune. All right, so normally it was a pentatonic scale, but this is not quite in tune. What are those notes? That's what I'm thinking about. That's what it's supposed to be. But we get. All right, so we're a little out of tune. But they're fine. They do the trick. Again, usually it's a set of 5. Sometimes you have sets of 6. These sound better than the plastic versions of them. They call them granite blocks. These sound much better. So try not to get the granite blocks if you can afford it. Again, you want to hit it with rubber mallets better than snare drum sticks. Snare drum sticks will really beat the snot out of these. So rubber mallets are what you want. Okay. tempo blocks. All right, good. Moving right along, almost done. This whole chapter. Castanets. Castanets, not a whole lot to talk about. You can buy them on a machine. This is mounted. There's a lot of different types of ways. They have machines, but they're mounted, so you can play them with your hands. Or you can take them off, ideally, and play them loose. And if you take them off and play them loose, just like the tambourine, you want to have a chair handy. All right, put my leg up, and I'm going to hit on my leg with my castanets. The only thing about castanets that's really important is that we want to, any long note, any note that is long enough for me to spend the time to do it. So usually it's a quarter note and longer. Sometimes it's even an eighth note, depending on the tempo we're doing. We want to flam any long note, whether it says to flam it or not. All right, so if I have dum ticka dum ticka dum ticka dum, I'm going to ideally play all those long notes. I'm going to flam. Right? It's just a stylistic way to play the castanets versus typically as much as I can, I want to flam them. Right? You can probably go a little overboard on it, but you want to try to flam it. It's going to give you a more appropriate sound, right? A sound that's going to be closer to what would be played if we were playing it with our hands. What castanets you get? There's a ton of different kind of castanets. These happen to be Black Swamp. They're great, but they're expensive. You can get some cheaper ones. Not that big of a deal. These are actual rosewood. Sometimes they're plastic, and plastic actually doesn't sound awful, right? So, but you want to make sure the big thing with castanets is any long note, you want to make sure to flam it. And finally, I saved the least important for last. I don't know why, but oh well. Finger cymbals. These are fun. So finger cymbals are just really, really small cymbals. These are actually, we talked about with the antique cymbals, with the crotales. These are what crotales used to be. All right, these are what we used to use for crotales. To play finger cymbals, you want to make sure they're small. All right, you want to make sure you have straps. Again, these will rip off, and you want to make sure that you have something to hold on to. The two ways to play the finger cymbals is to hit them on the edges, suspending them just like we would our crash cymbals. Remember, we would crash and then let it suspend it over here. I would do the same thing, but just smaller. And I'm going to hit the edges together and move apart from each other. And you'll notice there's a dissonance between the two cymbals. That's important. So if we have, here's the right cymbal, here's my left cymbal. Right, so it's a little flatter than the other one. So the two of them together give you that out-of-tune shimmer. And that's exactly what we're looking for, right? We want that really complex shimmer. The other way to play, sometimes this is hard to get, the other way to play is to hold one sideways, do the same thing. Right? We want to try to avoid playing only one cymbal at a time. Sometimes if you have to play a lot of different things, maybe suspend one and hit it with a triangle beater, you want to try to avoid that as much as you can, because the complexity of those two pitches together is going to give you the sound that you want. Okay? All right. Let me make sure that is all we need to talk about. There are other, I have, almost forgot. Sleigh bells. We're all going to have Christmas concerts. You got to know how to play sleigh bells. The problem with sleigh bells is that they're a negative instrument, in that the moment that you hit it is the moment that it makes zero sound. Right? So the sound is created after I hit it. So what happens is the instrument sitting here, in each one of these bells is a ball, right? And right now the ball is sitting at the bottom of the bells. When I hit the instrument, the moment I hit the instrument, it shoots that ball up into the air. So there's zero sound because the ball's in the air. and then the ball has to hit something, which is what creates my sound. Right? So the moment I hit it, there's actually no sound. It's after I hit it that it creates the sound. All right. So the problem with that is that it's very easy for your sleigh bell player to get behind the beat. Right? If they're playing right with you, right, there's no metronome or conductor for you to go off of, but the sound is going to be slightly delayed. So if you're playing, we all know Sleigh Ride by Leroy Anderson. If you're playing the Sleigh Ride, they need to really make sure that they're pushing the top end of the beat, that they're really pushing going forward. It's very easy for the sleigh bell player to get behind the beat, okay? Sometimes that's not as articulate as you would like it. So the other optional way to play it is you hold it sideways, and I'm actually going to hit right on the bells here. And I get a little bit more articulate of a sound, A, because I'm hitting the bells themselves, but also because I'm muffling some of them, so it actually gives me more of a staccato sound because I'm muffling the bells and they're not ringing fully. Versus, okay, but again, remember, it's to play this on the beat, you really have to be thinking way ahead of the beat to make it sound good. Okay, good. Good. All right, that finishes up our chapter. He mentioned some other instruments. Don't worry yourself with them. I would read about them. They're cool, particularly the gigantic thunder sheet on page 251. These are all really cool things. And if you have any questions about how to play them, feel free to email me. But he gives nice instructions in the book. All right, so the 3 questions are, what is the difference between a tam-tam and a gong? Where should you roll on your suspended cymbals? Where should your hands be when you're rolling on the suspended cymbals? And let's do it on the castanets. What should you do for your long notes? Okay, so tam-tam, what's the difference between a tam-tam and a gong? Where should you roll on your suspended cymbals? And what should you do with your quarter notes or any long notes on the castanets as much as possible? And then the 4th one, bonus question, is what sounds better? The woodblock with it facing you or with it facing me? What sounds better on the recording? Okay, that is it. This is going to be going up today. This is again Wednesday. Our test is next Tuesday. Thank you very much. Next Tuesday, the typical test where it'll start, what did I start at 8 a.m. and went till 8 a.m. the next day. So Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. Wednesday morning. And I will get everything graded. I'll get that out to you guys as soon as we can, get that up on D2L. I have some of them graded, I just need to get it into the books. So if you have any questions, feel free to put things up on D2L, or if you really want an answer right now, email me. And you'll get an almost immediate reaction because I don't check D2L as often as I check my emails. And then our final will be during finals week. Again, we won't have that specific time that it's in our final plan, but I'll look at when our final was supposed to be, the day, and maybe that'll be the day for the final exam. And again, it's going to be cumulative. It'll be the entire book that we've covered anyway, and the open book and open note. That being said, I want to make sure going forward, we're only going to cover 2 more chapters out of the book. You'll notice we're about halfway through the book. So we're actually not going to do chapter 7. We're not going to bother with that. We're going to get into chapter 8, which is the drum set chapter. That's the next we're going to look at. And then we're also going to do marching percussion, which is chapter 9. So chapter 8 and 9 are all we're going to be covering. Yes, chapter 8 and 9 are the rest of the semester. Drum set and marching percussion. Okay? Hope you're all enjoying yourselves, having a good time, fulfilling what you want to do, getting things done in the way you want to do them with all this free time that we have. Now I hope that I get to see you before Christmas. But if I don't, enjoy yourself, and we'll see you later.